External canal skin flap elevation microscopic. This is a cadaver temporal bone. Already a grommet insertion has been done and the posterior tympanomeatal flap has been elevated. Here you can see the incisions given along the periosteum of the posterior canal wall, and now the incision given along the inferior canal wall skin. And now the incision is given along the anterior canal wall skin. This exercise will be very useful for various types of tympanoplasty. Remember, already in this temporal bone, the posterior tympanomeatal flap has been elevated. So please understand that already there is an incision in the posterior canal wall skin. The periosteum of the mastoid cortex has already been removed. Now the superior canal wall skin incision is given. Now the anterior canal wall skin is further deepened. The skin is very thin in the anterior part of the canal. The final incision is completed. The anterior skin wall is gently elevated now. Using scissors to cut the periosteal attachment. While elevating the posterior canal wall skin, the skin is very thin in the posterior part and it is firmly attached to the tympanomastoid suture line. Tear is very common at that place, so be very careful. Now the inferior wall and the anterior canal wall skin in the deeper part is elevated with a plaster knife. See how beautifully the tympanomeatal flap is elevated up to the annulus anteriorly. Now the inferior-most part of the canal wall skin along with the annulus is being elevated beautifully. You can see the small mucosal tags. See how beautifully the canal wall skin is elevated. And now the mucosa of the middle ear will be opened with an angled pick. This is the anterior part of the mucosa. Anteriorly, the temporomeatal flap is elevated up to the notch of Revenius and the anterior malleolar ligament, superior to which there is no annulus. See how beautifully the flap is elevated superiorly. The scrotum in the anterior part is partially exposed. And now the posterior skin flap is lifted. This is a cadaver skin, so it lacks the elasticity. And now the posterior skin flap is elevated up to the notch of Revenius, to the posterior malleolar ligament, superior to which there is no annulus. You can see the detached end of the annulus. Posteriorly. The tympanic membrane attached to the malleus handle is now being released. The umbo is the toughest part of the attachment of the tympanic membrane to the handle of malleus by a strong ligament. I am using a scissor to cut the attachment of the tympanic membrane to the handle of malleus. And now the skin flap is elevated all around except for the small anterior attachment, and that is now being released. And now the whole skin cuff will be beautifully delivered with the tympanic membrane and the annulus. The incision in the posterior canal wall skin is well appreciated. That is the tympanic membrane, the annulus, and the skin. So again, I would like to emphasize that this exercise will be very useful in creating the flaps in various forms of temporoplasty. Thanks for watching.